How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Kuf Mem, Daf 140 of Masechta BavaBasra, friends. So today we are starting the second to last perek of Masechta BavaBasra, perek Mi Shemes, which is awesome. We're like, ooh. I wouldn't say we're getting close to the end. Relatively speaking, we're close to the end. Second to last perek of Masechta BavaBasra. We do still have another 36 pages. All right, it's about another month, a little more than a month. So, relatively speaking, we're getting there. And I'm looking forward to perek Mi Shemes. I have a feeling we're going to be learning some gewaldige stuff here. So let's do it. All right. So Mi Shemes starts with a Mishnah, obviously. Hopefully we'll learn two Mishnahs today. This Mishnah is a little bit not tricky. It's like tricky when you kind of like think about it. Like the more you think about it, the trickier it gets. Right. Okay. Says the Mishnah on Daf Kuf Lamed Tesam Beis, Mi Shemes v'niach bonim uvonis. Okay, so somebody dies and there are children, boys, girls. Let's say 2 boys and 2 girls. Let's say. So if it's a large estate, okay, so what happens is abonim yeshuv, abonis yizonu. So the girls receive mizonis, which is be'etzem. My understanding is basically they're entitled to be to have their food paid for them from the estate, okay, up until they either become adults or get married. So we calculate, I think this is how it works, so we calculate how we project how much the expense of their food will be until they become adults, and that is deducted from the estate that is given up front to the girls, and whatever remains in the estate after that has been deducted is then divided among the boys. So assuming that it is a large enough estate, and the Gemara is going to explain how do we define large or small, but if it's a large enough estate, so first we deduct the money for the mizonis of the girls, and then whatever is left over will be divided among the boys. But if the estate is small, well then priority goes to the girls, right? We calculate their mizonis, right? The same way we calculated it before, right? Their expense for food until they become adults, and then so they get priority, and the boys need to beg for money. Right, if there's nothing left in the estate, so whatever there is goes to the girls, and if we're going to define exactly right now what's considered big or small, but assuming that there's no more money, so then the boys are the ones who need to go beg. Okay. Admin Omer says, Admin b'shvil shani zocher ifsati, what, just because I'm a boy, I have to lose out, I have to be a schnorr because I'm a boy? Omer Gamliel, where Ani, as Divi Admin or Gamliel says, yeah, what he said. He says, yeah, I agree with Admin. Okay. It says the Gemara, V'cham Merubin. So what's considered Nechasim Merubin? What's considered a large estate where we said that first we deduct the mizonis for the girls and then whatever is left over is divided among the boys. And so Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, Kidei sheyizonu me'en elu va'elu shnim aser chodesh. If the estate is valuable enough that there's enough value in the estate for both the boys and the girls to have enough food for 12 months, that is considered a large estate. Says Rav Yehuda that after Rav died and I went to study by Shmuel and I said over this Torah of Rav, Omar, he said, Zodiv Rabbi Gamliel bar Rebbe. So Shmuel says that is the opinion of Rabbi Gamliel bar Rebbe, that it's the mizonos of the boys and the girls for 12 months. The Chacham say, that it's considered a large estate if it's valuable enough that there's that it would be able to support the food, provide food for the boys and girls until the point where the girls are adults and no longer need mizonis. So if there's enough value in the state to be able to provide that support, so then it would be considered a large estate. Itmanami was also stated, Ki also Ravin, Rabbi Yochanan v'Amilo, Rabbi Chanan, Rabbi Yochanan, Kol she'izonu me'en, elu ve'elu ad, she'yivgru hein merubin, as long as the estate is valuable enough that both the boys and the girls would be able to have a mizonis until all the girls are adults, that would be considered a large estate. Pachos mikan, but if there is not enough value in the estate for this support, hare elu mu'atin, then it would be considered mu'atin. So now, frak the Gemara, ve'ileka le'elu ve'elu ad she'yivgru. Okay, so let's say there isn't enough in the estate. So we said it's considered a nechasim mu'atin. Shaklelu banos lechulu. So I don't understand what happens. So like, let's say, right, we're saying that it's considered. All right, one second. We're saying that if it's a large estate, so then the girls get priority, and we deduct the value from the estate, and whatever's left over is divided among the boys. We're saying that if it's a small estate, so then the girls get mizonis, and then the boys have to beg. But I don't understand. What if there's kilu? What if there is, right? Because we defined a large or small estate by if there's enough value in the estate for both the boys and the girls to get mizonis until the girls become adults, right? Meaning it's not just if there's enough for the girls to get mizonis, but also the boys. So what if there's enough for the girls, but not enough value to cover the expense of also the boys for their mizonis until the girls become adults, right? So we're saying it would be considered a small estate, right? Because again, for it to be considered a large estate, there'd have to be enough to support both the girls and the boys until the girls become adults. What if there's enough to support the girls, but not enough to support the girls and the boys? So there's a little bit more than the girls, but not enough for the boys. So we're saying that the girls get it all? Is that what we're saying? Because we're saying that the boys need to. I'm asking the Gemara's question. I mean, this is what the Gemara asks, right? Because we're saying that the boys need to go and schnar. They need to beg. So we're saying that just because there isn't enough for both of them, even though there's more than enough for the girls get everything and the boys have to schnar. So Amar Rava says, Rava motzin loin mizonus levonis achiv giru v'ashar levonim. Rava says that no, we deduct. In that case where there's enough for the girls but not enough for the girls and boys, so we deduct the amount that is shaykh to the girls and they get that, and whatever's left over goes to the boys, and once they run out of that, then they have to start begging. So now, if you think about it, there really isn't, therefore, it sounds like from what we've done so far, there really isn't a difference between if there's a big estate or a small estate, right? Either way, the girls get the priority, right? We calculate how much they need from mizonis, we give it to them. If it's a large estate, we give it to them, and then the boys divide up the rest of the estate amongst themselves. If it's there's enough for the girls, but not much more than that, well, the girls still get whatever they need, and then whatever's left over goes to the boys, and when that runs out, they'll beg. So there isn't really much of a difference between if it's a large estate or a small estate, other than the fact that there's just less to go around when it's a smaller estate. So I took a look at the art school because I was like I was trying to understand, because at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, there doesn't seem to be a difference between a large estate and a small estate, right? Whatever it is, you have an estate. You first take out the mizonos, give it to the girls, and then whatever is left over is for the boys. If there's nothing left over, they have to beg. If there is left over, then they don't have to beg. What do you want me to tell you? There's no real difference. So apparently the difference is that if it's a large estate, and we're saying therefore we separate for the girls the mizonos and give it to them, then if it's a large estate, the rest the boys inherit. Then that means also if let's say the price of food goes up, which means that all of a sudden now the money that the girls have isn't enough. Well, it's too late. The boys already inherited their part. It's non-negotiable at this point. Whereas if you say that it's a smaller estate, so then whatever's left over goes to the boys, but they don't really inherit it in the same official capacity, and therefore if the price of food goes up and now actually the girls need more money, well, it would come from the expense of the boys. That could be a nafkamina, but it seems pretty subtle at this point because it doesn't really seem to be an obvious difference between them. Anyways, fine. Pshita merubim v'nismaitu kvar zoch ben yorshin. Okay, so now the Gemara says it's obvious that if there was a large estate. Okay, so there was a large estate, Givaldig, and they calculated the mizonis for the girls. They gave it to the girls. Whatever was left over, the boys inherited, and they divided amongst themselves. Givaldig. But now what happens is the price of food goes up, and now all of a sudden the money that was given to the girls is all of a sudden not enough. So they come back, so they want to say, hey, we want to renegotiate. So we say, no, everyone already got their part, and everyone got what they got, and that doesn't change. Right, the boys already inherited what they inherited, the girls got their mazonis, and that's non-negotiable. But what if there was not enough? It was a small estate, and right, it was not enough to be considered a large estate. It was right. There wasn't enough for the boys and girls to be sustained until the girls become adults. So it was a small estate. But then the price of food taka dropped. Does that ever really happen? I don't know. But the price of food dropped, and now the price of food dropped. So now the boys want to say, wait, hey, well, you don't need all that money. Let's take the difference. So what's the halacha? Skip the next two lines, only because the Gos V'Tzionim says to do it, and there's no Rashbam on it, so let's just skip them. Tashma Kabne Damar Ba'asi, right, so I skip two lines. That says Ba'asi Amar B'Yochanan, Yisom Shekadmu Machu Ben Chas Mu'atin, Masha Machu Machu. Well, let's say it was Nechas Mu'atin. So Nechas Mu'atin, we said that the boys have to beg and the girls get mizonos. But what if before they went to Bezdin, before the girls went to Bezdin to get their mizonis, the boys sold the estate to somebody, right? They sold the estate. So even though they're not allowed to do that, right, because they need to give the mizonis to the girls and they have to beg, there's nothing left. But technically, if they sell it, it's sold, which means that at the end of the day, we're saying it's still theirs, right? If they sell it, it's sold, and therefore, because at the end of the day, in practice, it's still theirs. So therefore, they do have a claim that if the mizonos decreases in value, they say, well, let's take this surplus for ourselves. Let's renegotiate and take the difference for ourselves. Okay. Fine. Now, this next bit is like, it's like a little bit, I don't know, it's like a little tricky. It's like a little subtle, but anyways. He also Rabbi Yirmiyah Kamid Babo. So Rabbi Yirmiyah was sitting before Babo. V'kaboy minei, and he asks Babo, Almanosu ma'ushet tamai bin chosim. Does the widow detract from the nechasim? Kilu, when we're trying to calculate this, is it considered nechasim rubim, nechasim watim? What about if there's a widow? She also gets mizonis. So, is she part of that cheshbon of determining if it's nechasim muatim or is it nechasim merubin? So, came the Islam mizonim imaito. Do we say, well, since she also has mizonis, just like the girls have, right? It's part of the ksuba that if he dies, so then both the widow and the girls are entitled to mizonis from the estate. So therefore, since she's also entitled to mizonis, just like the girls, so she should be included in that cheshbon. Or then, or perhaps given the ilu minazba leis lo hashanami leis. Or you say, well, if she gets married, then she no longer has a claim to mizonis, so she's excluded from this cheshbon. Okay, she of course still has the right to mizonis, but she wouldn't be included in the cheshbon of determining if it's nechasim muatim or nechasim rubin. Okay. Then if you say, well, since if she gets married, she would no longer have a right to claim to mizonos, because she only has a claim to mizonos until she gets married. When she gets married, she no longer can collect mizonos from the late husband's estate. So if you want to say, okay, so since if she gets married, she can no longer claim mizonos, so she's excluded from the cheshbon of nechasim muatim and nechasim rubin. What about bas ishto ma'ushet tamai bin nechasim? What about her daughter, right? This was a scenario from Ksubis. There's a lot of Ksubis stuff now. If there's a scenario, this was a scenario from Ksubis. If a boy marries a girl, a fellow marries a fella, and she already has a daughter, and the fellow says to the fella, that I will support your daughter for 5 years. Okay, we're going to get married and I will support your daughter for 5 years. Now, even if the daughter then gets married, and then he dies, and now they're being sustained from the estate. So even if the daughter gets married, the 5 years still stands. Right? So so the daughter of the wife would her mizonos be included in the cheshbon of nechasim mu'atin or nechasim reuben. Do we say isla umemaita? Do we say that, well, since even if the daughter gets married, she would still have she would still be able to collect the mizonos from the estate until the 5 years are up. So therefore, her mizonos would be included in the cheshbon. Or perhaps came in the ilu mesa leis la velo mimaita. Or they say, yeah, but if she dies, then there's nobody to claim those mizonos. So maybe she should be excluded from the cheshbon. V'imtim tzalomar came in the ilu mesa leis la velo mimaita. And if you want to say, well, since if she dies, there's nobody to claim those mizonos, so therefore she's excluded from the cheshbon. But balchov mao shemait ben chasim. What about if the father owed money to a creditor? So that creditor is allowed to collect from the estate. So do we have to take into account that there is a lien on the estate when they're calculating the value of the estate, and if there's mizonos and yerusha? So do we say nami do we say, well, a balchov, a creditor, even if he dies, his kids can still collect the loan, so therefore we should have to see if there's also enough money to cover the loan, the repayment of the loan. Or perhaps giving them chaser govina lo memayit, or maybe since it hasn't yet been collected, so we don't include it in this cheshbon, and we can just divide up the estate, give the mizonos to the girls, divide up the estate among the boys, and at the time that it comes to collect it, at that point we'll then say, okay, let's see what's left, and we'll figure it out from there. Okay, so that was the Shaila. So those who ask it from the opposite direction. Balchov ma'ushimay ben chasim. First they say, what about a balchov? Right? Does the creditor, does he have to be part of the cheshbon of if it's nechasim mu'atim or nechasim mu'atim? And even if you're going to say that yes, he is included because even if he dies, the heirs will collect. So bas ishto ma'ushimay ben chasim. What about bas ishto? Because if she dies, then she's excluded from the then she doesn't collect mizonos anymore. And even if you say that the daughter would be part of the cheshbon because she can collect even after she gets married, then what about her mother? What about the amana, who if she gets married, she doesn't collect mizonos anymore? Okay, so those are ask in the opposite direction. All right. And then now the Gemara asks a new question, which is, okay, when the father dies and he leaves over a widow and a daughter, so if there's not enough value in the estate to cover the mizonos of the widow and the daughter, so then who gets priority? The widow or is I think his daughter, Caleb. He has a widow and he also has a daughter, so who gets priority? Both of them are entitled to mizonos, but who gets priority if there's only enough for one of them? So Ezeman Kodem. So Omar Leizil Edna V'Salamach. Okay. So now Rabbi Bo says, look, Reb Zera, you asked a lot of questions. Why don't you go home right now and come back tomorrow? Ki also, when Rabbi Yirmiyah came the next day, Omar Le, Rabbi Bo says, look, Pshot Mias Chada. Look, I can at least answer one of your questions. The one about the widow and the daughter. The Omer Reb Abba, Omer Reb Asi, it says Reb Abba, Omer Reb Asi, also Amono Eitzel Habas, Kibas Eitzel Achna. We treat the widow vis-a-vis the daughter like the daughter vis-a-vis the brothers. B'nechasim mu'atin when it's a small estate. Mabas Eitzel Achna, Bas Nizonis V'Achin Yishal Al Psachim. Just like when there's the boys, right, the sons and the daughters, and it's a small inheritance. So it's a small estate, so we say that the daughters get the mizonos and the boys have to shnar. Af almana etzel abbas, also in almana, the widow and the daughter, almana nizonis, babas tishal psochim, the widow would get priority for mizonos and the daughter would shnar. Admon Omer b'shvil she'ani zocher ifsati v'chulei. So Admon said, what? Just because I'm a boy, I have to lose out, right? We said if it's a small estate, so the girls get the mizonos and the boys have to beg. Why? That's not fair. So my comment, what's Admon saying? Omer Bai says, this is what he's saying. B'shvil she'ani zocher v'roi ani lasuk b'teirah. Ifsati, I don't understand. I'm a boy. I am ready to toil in the Holy Torah. Why should I lose out? I'm big stuff. I'm a boy. Omalei, Rava, Elamiata, Manda Osik, Batorah, who the Yaris, the Lasuk Batorah, the Yaris. What? I don't understand. What does Yerusha have to do with being able to learn Torah? What if you have two boys, let's say, one of them studies Torah, the other one doesn't. So the one who studies Torah gets the inheritance, the one who doesn't. What does learning the Torah have to do with who inherits? Elo on my Rav rather says Rav Achikam, and this is what he's saying. B'shvil shani zochav ani lirash ben chasim Reuben. If Sati ben chasim, what? And he says, well, look, I understand that if it's a large estate, so the girls get the mizonos, and then I'm a boy and I'm entitled to a larger inheritance, right? I can divide I get a larger stake in all the rest of the inheritance. But just because when it's a larger estate and I get more, that means that when it's a smaller estate, I have to lose out. I should be able to get a piece as well. That is Admon's argument. Now says the Mishnah, second Mishnah of the day. So if he dies and there are boys and he has boys, he has girls, and a tumtum. So when there is a lot of Sotaka, this Mishnah, Nochama, I learned with Micah Gordon. This was at the Shabbos Sheva Brachos, right? Because of course, right, after Chasna there's always Sheva Brachos. So at the Shabbos Sheva Brachos, I brought my Gemara and I was sitting there waiting for the show to start. So I was learning this Mishnah, and Micah Gordon was there, and he came over to me, and we were learning. And so when there is maybe the people like learning with me. You would think people wouldn't want, you would think people would see me and be like, go the other way. Yes, some people seek me out. Some people want to learn, I guess. I guess the people of Babylon town would like to learn. If you saw me at a wedding, or I guess technically anywhere for that matter, stay away or not? What would you do? When it is a large estate, so if it's a large estate, so a tumtum, of course, we don't know if he's a boy or a girl. So he's going to want to, of course, go to the boy. It's a large estate. He sees, this is my, right? Let me try to pretend, let me try to make it, let me try to argue I'm a boy. So as Charim Tochen also, it's in the Kavas, the boys say, you're not a boy. Go to the girls. Now, if it's a small estate, and therefore the boys are going to have to beg, and the girls get the mazonis, so he goes to the girls and says, look, I'm a girl. And the Kavas Tochen also says, the girls say, no, you're not. Go to the boys. So if somebody says, if my wife gives birth to a boy, he will get, 1 second. Okay. All right. So if my wife gives birth to a boy, that I will give that boy $100. So Yalda Zachar Yital Mana. So if she gives birth to a boy, so the boy will get $100. Nice. Nikev Masayim. If he says, if my wife gives birth to a girl, she'll get $200. Yalda Nikev Natelis Masayim. If the baby is a girl, the baby gets $200. Now, according to the first way, right? If he says that if it's a boy, then $100. What if it's a girl? He won't get anything, right? If he says if it's a girl, $200. What if it's a boy? The boy won't get anything. But if he says but if he says, look, if it's a boy, then $100. If it's a girl, then she'll get $200. And he gives birth to either a boy or a girl. So Zachar no tel mana. So if the baby was a boy, $100. Nikev no tells Masayim. If the baby's a girl, $200. Yolda tumtum. But what if the baby's a tumtum? Ain't a no tel the tumtum won't get anything, because the tumtum is neither a boy nor a girl. Well, if the condition is whatever my wife gives birth to, well then that even includes a tumtum. Right? So we had said at the beginning of the Mishnah, right, that if there's nechasim merubim, so he tries to go to the boys, they say go to the girls. If it's nechasim muatim, he tries to go to the girls, they say go to the boys. But if there are no boys or girls, there's only a tumtum, well then he'll just get, he gets everything. Well, the tumtum gets everything. Says the Gemara, dochin also v'shakil kivas. Okay, so meaning the Mishnah had said, the Mishnah had started and said, I'm reading from the beginning of the Mishnah, right? So we said if there's a large estate, so he goes to the boys and says, hey, I want a portion of the estate, I'm a boy. He says, no, go to the girls. So it says the Gemara dochin also, so the boys say, no, go to the girls, v'shakil kivas. And okay, so he goes to the girls, and I guess he'll collect mizonis like the girls. But Akatani Seifa, but the Seifa says, when we're talking about, $100 for a boy, $200 for a girl, Yolda Tumtum Einu Notel. That if the baby's a Tumtum, so then the Tumtum doesn't get anything. Meaning a Tumtum is neither a boy nor a girl. So, I don't know, so why are we saying that the boys say go to the girls, and the Tumtum will collect with the girls, but the Tumtum isn't a girl? As we see that when he says if it's a boy, $100, if it's a girl, $200, tumtum is neither. So Abai says, yeah, what it means is that the boys say go to the girls, but he goes to the girls, and he's not going to get anything with the girls. He's not a girl. Tumtum isn't a girl either. So the boys just say go to the girls, just get out of here. But the tumtum won't actually be able to collect from the girls. Rava Amar says Rava dochin also v'yeshlo. Rava says, no, what happens is the boys say, go to the girls, and the tumtum collects mizonis with the girls. The Seifa, what about the Seifa, where we said that a tumtum is neither a boy nor a girl? That's the opinion of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, the Tanan that we learned in the Mishnah, Yoldo tumtum banjoginos, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Omer, ein kedusha chol alein. Right? This is talking about a scenario where somebody says that if a boy is born, I will bring a korban olah. If it's a girl, a korban shlomim. If it's a tumtum, however, if the baby ends up being a tumtum, well then there wouldn't be any requirement to bring a korban, because a tumtum is neither a boy nor a girl. That's the opinion of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Meisvei, we have a contradiction. Tumtum yoresh kiben v'nizon kebas. Well, we have a brayso that says that a tumtum is yoresh like a boy, and is nizones like a girl. So B'Shalom the Rava, I understand according to Rava, who says that the tumtum inherits with the girls. What it means, right, gets mizonos with the girls. What it means is yorish keben. When do we say yorish keben? B'nechasim muatin. If it's a small estate and the tumtum goes to the girls to collect mizonos, the girls say go to the boys. V'nizon kivas b'nechasim muatin merubin. And when it's a large estate, the tumtum goes to the boys to collect from the estate. So the boys say go to the tumtum, go to the girls, and get mizonos together with the girls. So according to Rava, that works out. But El Abaye, my nizon kibas. What does it mean nizon kibas? Because according to Abaye, the boy, when it's a large estate and the tumtum goes to the boys to get a portion of the inheritance, and the boys say go to the girls, the tumtum goes to the girls and doesn't get anything. So what does it mean nizon kibas? So the time of Rava, my yorish keben. But still, I mean, even according to Rava, it's not that much better. Sure, according to Rava, I can understand what it means nizon kibas, right? That the tumtum in a large estate goes to the boys, and the boys say go to the girls, and the tumtum gets mizonos with the girls. But what about fakert? What about when it's a small estate, and the tumtum tries to get mizonos with the girls, and the girls say go to the boys? So what does it mean yorish keben? There's nothing to be yorish. There's no, right? They have to go beg. So roi lirash ve'ein lo achanami roi lizom ve'ein lo. No, it means he's fit to inherit, but there isn't actually anything to inherit. Same thing. There also is, it's fit to get mizonos, but there isn't anything actually. But the tumtum can't actually get mizonos. Meaning, Abai will say that, meaning by a small estate, the girls say go to the boys, and there's nothing to inherit. They have to go beg. And by a large estate, the boys say go to the girls, But again, there's no mizonis for the tumtum either, because the tumtum is not a girl. The tumtum is neither a boy nor a girl, according to Abai. Well, that was the Kuf Mem Masechta BavaBasra. We started Perik Misha Meis, which started off with this somewhat subtle Mishnah about the girls getting mizonis from the estate and the boys getting the Yerusha. We talked about when there is, right, the rest going to the boys. We talked about when there's a large estate, when there's a small estate. The definition of a large estate and a small estate, we saw that Rav said that it's based on if there's enough for the mizonos of the boys and the girls for a year. Shmuel disagreed and said that it means enough for the mizonos of the boys and the girls until the girls become adults. And then we got to a new Mishnah Be'etzem, which also talked about how tumtums kind of fit into this stuff. And tomorrow we're going to, I think, start focusing more on the scenario when he says if it's a boy then $100, girl $200, that kind of stuff. Peace out.